Hi, I'm Elaine Petrone. Today's video that you're about to begin is not so much about the exercises you see. There really aren't any exercises that are totally new and that you've never seen before. It's really how you're going to do the exercises today. That's what I hope that I'm going to be able to help you with. Because most people just repeat the same exercises over and over again, and they wonder why it's not as beneficial for their body as they had hoped. The reason is you're going to find new parts of your body. You're going to start developing feeling in parts of your body that you probably haven't experienced before. We're going to target areas such as your pelvis, your rib cage, and your head and neck. This way, when you do the movements, it'll involve your whole body, and you'll also move differently during your day. So what I'd like you to do is be as comfortable as possible and start to feel your body as you go through the video. Start to understand things such as breathing, such as how do I move, not necessarily as you see me moving on the video, but key into what I'm asking you to feel. What parts of your body? Are they really moving? Do you really sense where your pelvis is? Do you know where the top of your thigh is, where your rib cage is? These are mystery areas that most people don't engage when they're doing exercises traditionally. So, let's get started. Start by lying comfortably on the floor and notice the parts of your body that are resting easily and the parts of your body that feel that they're just not that comfortable. They may be tight, you may notice that they hurt a little bit, and then begin by becoming aware of your breathing. Let yourself breathe. Don't work at deep breathing. Just let yourself breathe. Bend your knees and rest your feet on the floor and rest your hands comfortably on the top of your pelvis. That would be right around where you feel those two hard bones at the top of your thighs. Circle up the lower half of your pelvis and release it back down. And do that several times on your own time. Remembering not to hold your breath and to be aware that you're using your pelvis and that you're not tightening your knees, you're not tightening your rib cage or your shoulders in order to move your pelvis. And let the back of your pelvis rest on the floor in between movements, becoming aware if you're using the right half and the left halves evenly. The most important thing that you need to remember is breathing. And I'm going to remind you a lot on the video to make the S sound. The exhalation is much more important than the inhalation. I trust that you will inhale. It's pretty hard to just hold your breath and never breathe. But most people don't get a lot of oxygen in their bodies because they don't let that much oxygen out. And your diaphragm can also be just as weak as your muscle tension. So how we're going to strengthen it is by accenting an exhalation. And when you hear me make the S sound, and when I remind you to make that S sound, do it as often as possible. And remember to do it even during your day. If you feel like you're starting to get tense during the day and your muscles are stiffening up and you don't feel as flexible as you could, make that S sound. It'll help a lot. Start making an S sound for the duration of one exhalation. Right before you get to the end of the exhalation, stop and notice the changes in your breathing. Again, remembering to let yourself breathe and not force yourself to deep breathe. Okay, now bring your knees up towards your hands and gently let your knees rest against your hands. Don't pull yourself into a little ball, but let your shoulders be very at ease. And let's start with the left thigh. Open up the left thigh, feel the weight in the leg joint, and then close the left thigh. And again, do it on your own time, noticing the feeling of the leg joint. Do you hold your breath while you do that? Thinking about the way your bones and your joints are moving rather than your muscles. If you can only get a few inches comfortably, do it like that for a while and notice more of how you breathe. Now, as you're moving your leg joint, this is a great area of the body to move because it really helps you to develop movement in your thigh. And you start to stretch your low back as you do it. It lengthens your waistline. You start to redevelop the looks of your legs and thighs. Realign your legs so you don't get any tiredness in your knees, your ankles, or your feet. So take your time when you do this and find out, is your low back resting on the floor as you do this? Don't be rigid, but really, again, take your time to feel your body. Use your breathing. Let's go over to the opposite side, the right thigh. Start to sense the low back resting on the floor. If you're opening up your right thigh and you notice your whole body is going over to your right, then you're not getting the stretch in the inner thigh muscle, and your leg joints will not tone up to their natural alignment. So again, really let that leg hang open. All right, let's do both legs at the same time. Make the S sound and feel the legs moving apart. Let them rest there. Notice your breathing and lengthening the thighs out of the pelvis so you get nice long legs. Reach the thighs out of the pelvis, feeling the back muscles on the floor, and bring your thighs together. Now just rest your feet on the floor and just extend your hands and arms over your head and slide your legs out and make the S sound. And rest, noticing what your breathing reactions are, and then just reach through your fingers and your toes, just feeling that stretch through your whole body, and bring your arms around to the side. And rest. As you do the video, I'm going to be giving you ideas of how to do the exercises differently. It's better to do the exercises correctly 1 or 2 times with feeling and with breathing, rather than repeating the exercises 5, 10, 20 times incorrectly. Okay, now let's bend your knees and rest your feet on the floor and roll over onto your left side, remembering that the pelvis is still involved with this movement, and your rib cage and the top of your head. And just rest the top knee in front of the bottom knee and start by tracing a half circle up over your head with your right hand. And just reach as far as you can comfortably go. This is not a movement that can be done only by using your shoulder. You need to let the whole spine go along with the reaching of your fingers and then come back. You don't want to think of this as the shoulder pulling your body around, or your shoulder will get very stiff. Come back onto your side, make the S sound, and feel how your body is resting on the floor now, and reach it up over your head. And if this is only as far as you can go, that's fine. Some people can only go as far as their side. Just reach it out a little bit and come back. The main thing is that you start to notice the connection between your hand and your back muscles reaching. That's the connection. Reaching the hand and letting your back muscles start to open up. And let yourself breathe for a moment or two when your arm is outstretched. And then reach your hand back as if you're reaching along that half circle, and then come back and let your arm rest. Be very, very aware of the weight of that arm. Let the hand rest on the floor and notice your breathing. Let's try that one more time. Reach the hand up, stretch it along this half circle. Notice that you're opening up the space between the ribs and the top of your pelvis. Your waist is getting longer, and you're noticing the weight of your upper arm shoulder joint. Using gravity now. You're not pushing or forcing. If you push and force, the muscles resist. You want to feel that you're reaching and lengthening your body. That's it. Rest on your side and notice what your breathing is like now. And then just roll over onto your back and compare the way the right side of your body rests on the floor and the left side. This is a whole body movement. It pretty much stretches your entire spine. It gives you that separation you're going to want in your waistline between your pelvis and your ribs and between your ribs and your head and neck. So this is going to include your rib cage. That's that mystery area of your body that we were talking about in the beginning of the video. Since most people really don't need to lose weight in their rib cage, they pretty much ignore it during exercise. And since most people don't breathe properly during exercise, the rib cage gets very stiff. And as a result, it has everything to do with the look of your body, the way your posture is during the day, and the energy level that you're going to have. So let's take very careful amount of time to go over, is your rib cage really moving during these exercises? Do you breathe any easier on the right side? Are you making more contact with the floor? And bring your knees up towards your chest and just hug your thighs in towards your waist and stretch the low back even further. And then just rest your feet back on the floor and make the S sound. Now let's go over onto the right side. Again, remembering that you're resting nice and long, a good distance between the head, the rib cage, and the pelvis, and drop the top knee in front of the bottom knee. And now you're going to be reaching your left hand. This side will usually be different than the other side, so don't force it. Find out how much flexibility you have on the left side. Reach right out of the pelvis, and again, reach through the hand. Come back and rest. Feel the softening in the shoulder joint. Notice your breathing and begin again at your own pace. Reaching up, lengthening the hand and the arm, reaching. Make the S sound. You're warming up all the vertebrae of your spine. You're lengthening your body out, which is excellent for your posture. Your head and neck is involved, and there's no forcing at this point. You're using gravity, thinking of rolling, not pulling. And each time you do the movement, you want to get a sense that you're breathing, resting in the open position, and make the S sound. And let's do that one more time. Reach your hand up over your head, lengthen your body, and feel the weight of your legs. You can reach your hand and get more length through your spine if you can let your legs rest and not let them come off the floor, because look, when your knees come off the floor, it doesn't allow for any stretch between your hips and your rib cage. So leave the knees resting there and let the rib cage open up. And then reach back through the whole body and rest on your side one more time. Noticing if you feel breathing in any different parts of your body. And then rest back onto the back and make the S sound now. Now this is a good time when you're in this position to just curl up the lower half of the pelvis again, and just do that a little bit before we start to come up. Those pelvic curls should be easier now. And see if you can move your body a little differently. Okay, and just roll over onto your side and use your arms and legs to come up to sitting on the tip of your sits bones and just gently wrap your hands around your knees. When we talk about sits bones, probably a lot of you really don't know, where are your sits bones? Well, that's the bottom of your pelvis. Those are two little hard bones that you balance on, hopefully, all day long. There's also muscles around those bones, and when we talk about the pelvis, those are the muscles you're going to be using. And when you're sitting, a lot of these muscles are going to be involved. So we're going to need to find the sits bones. One of the things that you can do is get a rolling pin at home. I'm going to use this. I have these specially made for my classes, but a rolling pin at home will work just as fine. And you're going to use it just by hoisting yourself up onto the tip of your sits bones, as you can see I just did, and just sit cross-legged on the sits bones. Some of you who can't sit on the floor will still be able to, because you have a few inches between the bottom of your buttocks and the floor. And this will allow your leg joints to open up and for you to find those muscles that are real important to a lot of the exercises we're going to do. It also helps you to open up your breathing and change your posture. Now you might get on here, and I want you to realize you can still hold on to the pin. I don't want you to feel insecure. Now some of you will be real rounded back, and that means you're rounded behind your sits bones. That's okay. You have to realize what we're aiming for in the whole video, and this goes for everybody, whether you're effortlessly sitting on the pin or whether you're really rounded back. It's important to realize we're loosening up this joint in order to have freedom of movement through the whole spine. So rock behind your sits bones a little bit and come up onto the tip of them and notice the difference in your posture. When you're rounded in your pelvis, when you're behind your sits bones, it pulls your whole spine down. And when you're up on the tip of those sits bones, and that's engaging a lot of muscle tension, it changes how you can sit. So you might want to try that a little bit on your own, even as you're sitting down watching television, just experimenting during the day. If you have time, just use the rolling pin and then just come off and see whether or not you can still find those sits bones and sit effortlessly. You can even rock from side to side just to be as balanced as possible when you're moving around. Rolling up. Find the tip of the sits bones, even rock back and forth, and really pull up right from the buttocks. If you're not moving your pelvis, you won't be able to feel your lower abdominal muscles. It's important to feel your pelvis moving. That's the reason so many people have trouble with stomach muscle exercises, is they're not moving their pelvis. So come as high up as you can on the tip each time. Try it one more time. Roll down. Notice your pelvis moving, and then lengthen up and lift up right onto the tip of your buttocks, right up onto the tip of your sits bones. Pull up, and if you can now, just cross your legs, or we'll sit on a bench. Now, as we go to the exercises sitting, some of you will be comfortable sitting cross-legged on the floor, and others of you will need to sit on a stool, a hardwood chair in your home, and do the exercises that way. When I started doing these exercises, I couldn't sit on the floor, so it's not a comment on whether or not you're doing them better if you sit on the floor or sit on a bench. The main thing is that you start to find your sits bones, and you're going to be hearing that a lot as we go through the exercises sitting. Okay, and then turn around onto your side, balance on the tip of the sits bones. Those of you that need to use a bench, this would be the time to get one. And then just reach over to the side, lengthen out of your pelvis, and come up. Now here's where you're going to want to notice if you start to all of a sudden hold your breath. Do it at a pace where you can let yourself breathe. Now if you decide to go over to the side and you take your whole hip off the floor, notice that you don't get any stretch between your ribs and your pelvis. So leave the sits bones down on the floor And think of yourself as lengthening out, not dropping down. Lengthening out and come up. Feel your breathing in between and go over to the side. And now reach the hand. Again, remember the hand, not the shoulder. Reach the hand and come up. Let's do that again. Over to the side. Feel a lengthening out of your pelvis. Reach the hand. Sense your breathing. And come up. And just do the other side. Again, both sits bones on the floor. And come up. Thinking of reaching the top of your head, feeling the waist gently bending, and come up. Notice your breathing. Balance on that pelvis. Give yourself a moment to balance so you can recenter, lengthen to the side, and come up. Feel your breathing. Now go over to the side and add your hand, reaching the hand. Reach, reach, lift the hand up in the arm, and then close your eyes for a moment and just make the S sound. You should be very aware of the feeling of your rib cage now, and let yourselves balance over your sits bones differently now. Don't think of holding yourself rigidly in correct posture, but think of balancing your pelvis, your rib cage, and your head. Get out that rolling pin if you need to in order to find out where your sits bones are. Now we're going to go forward onto your elbows, and we're going to begin to stretch the rib cage just as we were doing on the floor, but by using the elbow to open up, get a nice long stretch through the side of your body, and come back and rest your head. Again, don't think of tightening. Think of feeling the weight of your body, and let your skeleton roll. Breathe as you do that. Let your head rest. Exhale. And try it again. Those of you who want to do it sitting cross-legged on the floor and don't have quite enough reach for your elbows, just put a few books or magazines under your elbows, and eventually you'll get that flexibility in your hip joints. Side to side. That's it. Now let yourself rest. You should be getting a lot of breathing in your waist now, and just relax your arms and the top of your head and hang and roll up. Just lift your body up from your pelvis and come right up, lengthen out through the top of your head. Really lift up. And just again, feel that space in the waistline to really give you that sense of lift through your body, so you're not feeling like you're squatting down and short. Okay, really lengthen out for a nice long line. The diaphragm is an area of your body that you're going to want to get familiar with. It's not like a muscle like your arm or your leg muscle where people notice it, but it's very important to the quality of your muscle tension. If your diaphragm is weak, in other words, if it really can't move freely in your body, then your muscle tension will be stiff or it'll be flabby, and you won't get the look to your body that you're really aiming for. So what we need to do is start to give yourself some distance between your rib cage and the top of your pelvis. That's where your diaphragm is, and the diaphragm needs to move and it needs to gain strength, and that's what the S sound is all about. So as you're going through any of the exercises, check out whether or not you're pinching in the middle of your body and tightening up this area, which is a very common area for people to hold, is the area that's involved with breathing. Find out how much during your day you hold your breath. Now we're ready to incorporate a lot of different exercises by getting into standing. So stand up with your feet a little wider apart than you probably normally stand. And what you're going to do is start with the top of your head and let your body start to roll down vertebra by vertebra, remembering all the different parts of the body that we've worked on up till now, the rib cage and the pelvis. Now hang there, exhale, and roll up, starting with your pelvis. Scoop up the lower abdominals just as we did in other exercises. Don't forget to lift your rib cage and the head. Reach your hands up. And let's go to the side. Just as we did sitting, and reach to the other side. Again, we're separating the rib cage up off the pelvis. Just reach the hands behind the buttocks. Now you're going to arch a little bit. Put your hands on the inside of your pelvis so you'll remember to bend at the thighs, not at the back. All right, and hang forward. And now bend your knees and relax your body over even more and roll up. Reach your hands up into the air, go to the side. Notice your breathing now. Up and over and to the other side. Remember, it's more about lengthening and breathing than it is about pushing and pulling on our body. And then arch and put your hands on those bones and reach out, bend at the top of your thighs and hang over. Bend your knees, relax your spine. Hang, exhale, and round up, scooping up. Now we're using the pelvis, the rib cage, the head and neck. Come all the way up. And let's just reach the hands up towards the ceiling. Very relaxed shoulders. Don't pull the shoulders up. Just relax the shoulders and go to the side. Exhale. Relax the arms and look up to the ceiling. Lift the rib cage and arch forward. Hang over. Bend and relax the knees. And scoop up the lower belly. Scoop it up. And round up. That's it. And really exaggerate your lift. Really think of lengthening up now, right from the top of the head. And just go up onto the balls of the feet if you can. Now when you do that, what I want you to feel is that the top of the head lengthens you up so that your spine is really what's lifting you up. It's not the feet pushing you up. It's that you lift your body up. It's always good to stretch the feet to get nice, long, strong legs. That's it. And then just bend the knees and relax before you stop. Very important movement to do. Get your feet into just a regular standing position. Always good to bend the knees during the day. People don't realize how bending the knees strengthens the body tremendously. You don't need tight knees. And if you relax your knees, you'll really get stronger thighs. And it actually works your abdominal muscles and your buttocks to bend your knees. And it's an easy thing to do, so do it during the day. Now that you've come to the end of the video, you've probably seen some things in the video that you're not familiar with, such as we mentioned the rolling pin, we mentioned sits bones, we talked about breathing. The stretch video really has a lot to do with how much you feel your body. One of the things that we use in a lot of the videos is the ball. You've probably heard about ball therapy, where we take the ball and place it under different parts of the body to give your body the feeling that you need for the stretches and to improve your breathing and your alignment. So, whether or not we're going to use the balls in a video or find your sits bones or do some relaxation work, all of the videos are to provide you with the best possible feeling and the best look that you want your body to have. The energy level that you have day to day has so much to do with your breathing and your muscle tension. So you may want to try doing the video and then try some of the other videos that I offer and have a ball.